All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're going to Pakistan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you sent over some really interesting articles about Pakistani politics,
Mhm.
specifically this guy, Dr. Ishrat-ul-Ebad Khan.
Okay.
And there's all this buzz about, him potentially returning to the political scene. And it seems like the public is really, I don't know, like yearning for change.
Yeah.
There's this real sense of that in these articles.
Interesting.
We're going to be looking specifically at an article from Pakish News,
Okay.
written by this pretty prominent Pakistani journalist named Wasim Ullah Pakish.
Hmm.
And what really stood out to me was, how it seems like people are getting kind of disillusioned with these traditional parties like
Hmm.
Pakistan Tehreek Insaf or PTI.
Right.
And this Dr. Ibad, he seems to be like tapping into that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's causing like a stir.
Hmm.
So what's your take on this whole thing? What kind of jumps out at you from this initial glance?
Well, I think what's so fascinating is how this article is positioning Dr. Ebad almost as like a savior, you
Wow.
know, like in this chaotic political landscape. But it's not just hype, though. I mean, he's been the governor of Sindh for over a decade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And during that time, he really earned a reputation for actually like addressing issues.
Like what kind of issues?
Public issues and really focusing on like welfare initiatives.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the article really emphasizes this slogan of his,
Oh, yeah.
Meri Pechan Pakistan,
Okay.
which means my identity is Pakistan.
Hmm.
And it really seems to be like connecting with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're looking for a leader who really puts their needs first.
Yeah. And I think, slogans, they can be catchy, but it's actually his actions as governor that seem to be giving his words meaning.
Interesting. So it's not just talk, it's like he's actually done things.
Yeah, exactly. He was known for like really getting into the nitty-gritty of everyday issues,
Okay.
especially things like improving welfare programs.
Okay.
And I think, that kind of track record is really important,
Yeah.
especially in a system where there's not a lot of trust in politicians.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially, now with the anxieties around the economy.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the article, it does kind of paint a pretty bleak picture of the existing political parties. They're kind of portrayed as being much more focused on power struggles and internal politics
Right.
than on what the average Pakistani actually needs and wants.
Mm-hmm.
Even PTI, which initially they were kind of seen as a force for change.
Yeah.
They even get, some criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it specifically mentions how they seem to be kind of preoccupied with getting their chairman released,
Okay.
Imran Khan,
Right.
who's currently in prison. And while that's like a really big deal for them,
Of course, yeah.
the article is basically arguing that it kind of overshadows the more pressing concerns of the public,
Okay.
like the economy and inflation and unemployment.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, are they really putting the people's needs first, or is it more about their own agenda?
Yeah,
You know?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
It also mentions that PTI's stance on foreign intervention has changed.
Oh, really?
Like they used to be totally against any involvement from the US, but now they seem like they're open to it, possibly to help with, getting Khan released.
Interesting.
And, that kind of inconsistency, it can be pretty damaging, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. It really raises questions about their commitment to their own principles.
Yeah,
And I think it also can erode public trust.
right.
When it seems like a party's just changing their stance based on what's convenient for them politically,
Yeah,
people are looking for leaders who are consistent,
right.
who stand by their convictions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have this public that's becoming, increasingly disillusioned.
Hmm.
And then you have Dr. Ebad, who's, he's got this background in public service and
Right.
this message of unity and progress.
Right.
And there's a lot of excitement building up around these upcoming visits that he has
Oh, yeah.
to Islamabad and Karachi.
Okay.
It's almost like these events could be, a catalyst for some kind of major political shift.
Yeah, it's definitely a turning point.
Yeah.
You have this population that is so clearly ready for a change.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ebad seems to be really like capitalizing on that sentiment.
Mm.
But the big question is, can he actually deliver?
Yeah.
Can he navigate these, complexities of Pakistani politics
Yeah.
and actually bring about those changes that people are hoping for?
Right.
Or is this just another case of a new face on the same old system?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
Well, the article does end in a pretty optimistic note.
Okay.
It suggests that, he really could usher in this new era for Pakistan.
Uh-huh.
And it presents his vision, Meri Pechan Pakistan, as like this force for positive change,
Right.
like bringing the nation together under this shared identity.
It's good to be optimistic,
Yeah.
but I think, cautious optimism is probably the best approach.
Okay.
I mean, the article, it doesn't really get into specifics
Oh, okay.
about how he actually plans to address like these really crucial issues,
Right.
like inflation or unemployment
Yeah.
or healthcare.
Of course.
Will he actually be able to translate this vision into action?
Yeah.
That's what we need to watch for.
Right. That's what we need to watch for.
Yeah.
It really does feel like, we're at this like pivotal moment. The article talks about how he's going to be visiting Karachi after Eid,
Mm-hmm.
and it's being presented as this like major event.
Oh, wow.
Like this grand homecoming that kind of signals, the start of his political journey. There's this like real sense of anticipation around it.
Yeah, and I think that's where, his strategic thinking really comes into play.
Okay.
Choosing Karachi for this return it's a calculated move.
Right.
It's the biggest city in Pakistan,
Yeah.
a major, hub for economics and culture.
Mhm.
Making a statement there, it sends a message to the entire nation,
Oh, I see.
both the political elite
Right.
and, just the average person on the street.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he's saying, I'm here for the people.
Exactly.
I understand your struggles.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
And by tapping into that feeling, right, and positioning himself as this, champion of the people,
Mm-hmm.
it's a powerful narrative.
Yeah.
One that's really hard for, these traditional parties to counter.
Right, because they seem so caught up in their own little battles while
Exactly.
he's focused outward.
Yeah, and that contrast, it really works in his favor.
It's a smart approach for sure.
Yeah.
But the question remains, can he actually translate that into results?
Right.
I mean, the article mentions his vision, but it doesn't, it's not very specific. What are his like actual plans
Right.
to deal with things like inflation, unemployment? I mean, those are the real tests.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get swept up in the excitement of a potential new leader, but we have to look beyond just the talk, the rhetoric.
Right.
I mean, Pakistan is facing some serious economic challenges.
Yeah.
We need to see concrete plans.
Okay.
We need to understand how he intends to actually address these complex issues.
So how do we separate the hype from reality?
Right.
What should our listener be looking out for as this story develops?
Yeah, I would say, keep an eye on public rallies,
Okay.
demonstrations, how much, genuine support can he actually mobilize.
Okay.
Also, look at the media coverage.
Okay.
Is it mainly positive?
Right.
Are his ideas being taken seriously?
Yeah, those are all good points.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember too that Pakistan's political landscape it's complicated.
Oh, incredibly.
There are powerful groups
Yeah.
like the military and religious groups that has a lot of influence.
Right.
So can he actually, navigate all of that?
That's a key question, right? It's not just about winning over the public.
Right.
He'll need to build alliances,
Okay.
make compromises
Yeah.
if he wants to actually achieve change.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how he handles those relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with the military.
Yeah, they've played such a significant role in Pakistani politics.
And what about the traditional political parties? How are they reacting to all of this?
Yeah, their reactions, I think, will be very telling.
Okay.
If they start to feel threatened,
Mm-hmm.
we might see them get a little, more aggressive
Okay.
in trying to undermine his movement.
Okay, so they might attack him.
Yeah, potentially.
Or maybe they try and bring him in.
Yeah, exactly. They might try to, co-opt him.
Right.
Offer him a position within the existing system.
Right, to kind of neutralize him.
Exactly.
It seems like we're about to see this really fascinating political chess match play out.
Oh, for sure.
Dr. Ebad with his, message of change and unity versus, these established players
Right.
who probably don't want anything to change.
They want to maintain the status quo.
Exactly.
It's about power, right?
Right.
But it's also about the hopes and dreams of millions of people in Pakistan
Oh, absolutely.
who are, they're yearning for something better.
Yeah.
They want, real leadership. They want economic stability.
Mm-hmm.
They want a government that actually represents them,
Yeah.
their voices, their needs.
Yeah.
That's at the heart of this whole story.
Absolutely. And, the article we've been talking about has mainly been focused on Dr. Ebad's impact on Pakistani politics.
Right.
But I think there's this other important takeaway here
Okay.
that speaks to something much bigger.
Yeah, you're talking about that growing disconnect
Yeah,
between politicians and the people they're supposed to be representing.
exactly.
Yeah.
It really highlights how these existing parties in Pakistan have just become, so focused on their own power struggles
Yeah.
that they've kind of lost sight of what people actually care about.
Right, their everyday concerns.
Yeah, and we're seeing this in so many
Oh,
places.
it's a global phenomenon.
Yeah,
People are feeling increasingly ignored,
yeah.
unheard by their leaders.
Mm,
They feel like their needs are not being met,
right.
their concerns aren't being addressed.
Yeah.
And that creates this really fertile ground for, populism
Mm,
and the rise of these leaders who promise to shake things up
yeah.
and put the people first.
And that's where people like Dr. Ebad come in. They
Yeah.
tap into that
Right.
disillusionment and offer this message of hope and change.
Yeah, whether they can actually deliver on those promises is a whole other question.
Right, right.
But the fact that they can even gain traction,
Yeah.
it really says a lot about where we are with politics today.
It shows this real desire for authenticity
Yeah.
for leaders that people believe actually understand them.
Exactly. People are tired of, the empty rhetoric,
Yeah.
the broken promises.
Right.
They want leaders who will listen,
Mm-hmm.
who will fight for them.
Yeah.
And that desire, it transcends borders.
This deep dive has been really, really insightful.
Oh, it's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
It sounds how, interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
What happens in Pakistan,
Mm-hmm.
it has implications way beyond
Absolutely.
the challenges, that Pakistanis are facing.
Yeah.
They're often mirrored in other parts of the world
Yeah,
in
yeah.
different forms, but they're there.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what would you say is the biggest takeaway for our listener?
I think the most important thing to remember is that, we are living in this time of just real political change.
Mm-hmm.
People are demanding something different,
Yeah.
and they're turning to, these unconventional leaders
Yeah.
to deliver that change.
Mm.
Whether those leaders can actually meet those expectations, it remains to be seen.
Right.
But their emergence, I think, sends a very clear message.
Yeah.
The old way of doing politics, it's just not working anymore.
It's a powerful reminder that the people have the power.
Yes.
And when they decide they've had enough,
Mm-hmm.
they can make change happen.
They absolutely can. And that's a vital thought to keep in mind
Yeah.
as we continue to try and make sense of this complicated, ever-changing world.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. As we kind of wrap up our look at Pakistani politics and this whole buzz around Dr. Ebad,
Yeah.
I want to kind of turn it over to you, our listener.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Does he seem like someone who can actually make a difference?
Right.
Or is there a bit of, skepticism there?
Yeah, I think it's good to be a little skeptical.
Yeah.
We often see this pattern, right?
Yeah.
A charismatic leader comes in,
Right.
captures the public's attention,
Right.
promises this bright future.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the reality of governing, of actually making change happen,
yeah.
it's often much harder.
Much more complicated.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
critical thinking is so important here.
Oh, absolutely.
We can't just get swept up in these big speeches or
Right.
promises.
We get to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Examine the actual policies.
Right.
And really consider this person's track record.
Dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Ask the tough questions.
Yeah. It's
Don't
different.
just get, carried away by the excitement.
Yeah.
Demand specifics.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the solutions they're proposing
Yeah.
and hold them accountable.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the people that have the power
That's right.
to shape their country's future,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
destiny.
And the article, it does present Dr. Ebad as this kind of stark contrast to the traditional political elite.
Yeah,
Like he's this outsider
right.
standing apart from all the corruption.
The self-serving interests.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's a question.
Okay.
Can he maintain that
Yeah.
if he actually decides to get into politics?
That's the dilemma, right?
Yeah.
To really change things, you
Yeah.
often have to work within the system.
Right.
But then, by doing that,
Yeah.
you risk becoming part of the problem.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance.
It is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, if he does take that step.
Yeah.
How he navigates that.
Yeah.
Can he keep his integrity
Right.
while still, working within this complex world? Right? Can he stay true to his commitment to the people?
Yeah.
While also making the compromises that politics often requires.
Yeah, yeah.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing's for sure, I mean, Pakistani politics,
Yeah.
it's gotten a lot more interesting with
Yeah.
this possibility of Dr. Ebad coming back.
Right. We'll definitely be watching to see what happens.
Absolutely.
This deep dive it's been really, really enlightening.
Yeah, it has.
We've looked at Dr. Ebad's potential impact,
Mm-hmm.
the ins and outs of Pakistani
Of
politics.
the complex world.
Yes, exactly. And even, kind of this global trend of people looking for leaders that really represent them.
Absolutely.
So we hope you found this, interesting and thought-provoking.
Yeah, we hope you learned something.
And until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep those conversations going.